Closed captioning provided by Duca Financial Services Credit Union. Discover more affordable banking at duca.com.
The Buffalo Bills' Jim Kelly rode the wave of football glory. But when inducted into the Football Hall of Fame, Coach Marv Levy said never mind his amazing arm. What's noteworthy about Jim Kelly is his heart. Ricky Ratliff now on how that distinction came about.
2002. The moment Jim Kelly had waited for had come true. His induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But it was a moment he'd done more than dream about. The star quarterback who says he had spurned the American culture of God and football admits it was a moment he'd prayed for.
Since the day I was selected, I've prayed to God that my son would be here with me today. God has granted me that blessing. And it has been written throughout my career that toughness is my trademark. Well, the toughest person I've ever met in my life is my hero, my soldier, my son, Hunter. I love you, buddy.
Hunter was just 4 months old when the Kellys learned their first and only son had Krabbe leukodystrophy, a degenerative disorder for which there is no cure. Jim had grown up with 5 brothers. All of them had sons. When he finally had his own son, it was his dream to pass on his love of the game.
Having my son born on my birthday, Valentine's Day, the son I've always wanted, and to have him diagnosed with a fatal disease, and then going to the Hall of Fame and praying every day that my son would be there the day that I was inducted, and he was.
He describes his life as a roller coaster, but Hunter's death 3 years later sent him into such a plunge he knew he'd need help to climb out of it.
My marriage was on the rocks. I had so many other things I was focusing on that I wasn't the husband that I should have been. As time went on, learning that the only way to get through this has to be through our faith. My wife became a Christian way before I did. I was one of those guys who pretty much blamed God. We were on a slow path. I was to hell. I was. And I knew the ultimate for me, why I changed my life, twofold. Well, probably threefold. Number one is I knew if I continued the path I was leading, I would never see my son again. I know my son's in heaven. I know there's only one way to heaven, that's through Jesus. I knew number two is I wanted to know that when I walked into my home and I saw my 2 daughters, my daughter Cameron and my daughter Erin, I wanted them to look at their daddy with respect. I wanted them to look at me and say, that's my daddy. And I knew that I would not get that. I knew in the eye contact that I would have with my daughters, I knew that wouldn't happen. And I wanted to love my wife again. I love my wife today more than I loved her the day we got married. And that's saying a lot. And I knew that it would not have gotten to that point unless I would have changed my life and changed my faith. And I thank God every day for it.
The quarterback who rewrote the Buffalo Bills record book began to rewrite the playbook for his spiritual life. Yeah, you said for many years you'd been running from God. What was it that finally made you stop running?
I want to see my son again.
That hope of life after death is a hope that has inspired Christianity for centuries. For Jim Kelly, it's a hope that not only allowed him to persevere through grief over the loss of his son, but to find a new joy and purpose in living here, now.
It surprised a lot of people. I haven't changed. You know, I still go hunting and fishing and camping and have beer with my buddies, but
what
inside,
has changed?
My heart is different. My heart is totally understands the realization that if I ever wanted to see my son again, if I ever wanted to be the father to my kids, if I wanted to love my wife again, if I wanted to feel good inside, more than anything, I needed to change. And I never knew what the word free meant. And I guess when Jill said she heard me say that I felt free, she knew that I was for real. And until you feel that, you won't have any idea. It's just like people when they ask me how did it feel to walk out into your first Super Bowl. I said, you can't describe it. It's a feeling that only you as an individual going through it at that time can feel. And when I gave myself to Jesus Christ the feeling inside my body, and I just got chills thinking about it, because I know that the ultimate is to be sitting there next to my son and next to my kids and my wife when I go to the ultimate into heaven. I want to talk to Jesus. I want to see what it's like to be with God, and I want to see my son again.
All right, so when did this go up?
I have not a clue.
This looks pretty vintage.
Today, he serves as CEO of Jim Kelly Inc. and is a popular speaker. He oversees Kelly for Kids to raise money for local children's charities in Western New York, offering hope and inspiration to disadvantaged children so they can dream of a bright future. And together with his wife Jill, he established and runs Hunter's Hope Foundation. Their mission? To raise money for research into the disease that claimed his son, and to support and encourage families that are similarly afflicted.
Jim, you have accomplished much. You were a Heisman Trophy candidate. You were a first-round NFL draft pick. You went to the Super Bowl 4 times. You were inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You made it to the NFL Football Hall of Fame. You were announced You made the Father of the Year award. You founded Hunter's Hope Foundation. What achievement are you most proud of?
Barring none, it was when I had 2 individual families come up to me 2 years ago, holding their son and holding their daughter. I think they were 22 years old. First couple came up and said, "Jim, this is our daughter Samantha. Our daughter would not be here today if it wasn't for you and for your foundation." Within 20 minutes later, another couple came up holding their son and say, "Our son would not be here today. He would be a quadriplegic if it wasn't for your foundation." When you hear things like that, you understand why you're doing things. You understand all the things you went through your life to get to that point. And there's times in my life where you look around and you wonder if you will press on to the next thing. But I look up above and I know there's something greater.
For Listen Up TV, I'm Ricky Ratliff.
Next, if you're learning about God from football players, I'll give you a few plays to watch out for. That's coming up in the wrap.